Well, hello again, guys. So on our 71 Chevy C20, the custom camper there, we have one more patch panel we need to put in. So the last time we were working on this project together, we torch welded in a patch panel on the back side of the right fender. And I believe the left-hand fender would actually be better because the battery's on the right-hand side, and usually if one of these is going to be rusted out, it's going to be that one. Well, that wasn't the case. I cut out that same piece that we replaced on the other one because it was rusty, and then I noticed on the bottom we had some more issues, and the farther I got into it, the more issues I found down here. And I finally ended up asking the owner. He had a source for he got some parts for the hood, and so I called him and asked if he knew where another fender was, and he did not. But he ended up going online and from CJ Pony Parts, which that's a new place to me. He found this front bottom patch panel for a left fender. He said the right hand ones were very easy to find, probably because of the battery problem, but left hand's not so much. But he found one, ended up being about $100, which, given the time and the labor it would take for me to fabricate all of this, that's probably not a bad way to go. So then the question is, what are we going to do with this? Are we going to try to cut and weld this entire thing in here? Or where do we start and where do we stop? And how do we do it? On the bottom side here, I'd actually started making panels, or a little patch piece, and putting the compound curve in it. And the more I looked, flanges were going to have to be rebent and all kinds of nonsense. So that's what shut that down really quick. So where are we going to cut this? Where are we going to start and stop? What I'm doing is just what I do, and that's a pretty obvious statement. But I'm just saying you don't have to do anything that I'm doing here. But when I see all of this on our patch panel, the flare around the wheel opening, the headlight deal, everything, all these bumps and crevices and curves, that makes me really not want to do that. Now all my damage is certainly from here down. So to me that's a great place to cut this. So that would be, this here is right here. So I'm thinking I'm just going to lop this off straight across here and do the same on the front side. You might be tempted to treat this, like if you were repainting a panel, trying to match paint, and you were taping off at a body line, so the line wouldn't show up. You know, you might be tempted to cut there and weld, but all you're going to accomplish is ruining your line, you know. Which is probably why they went above that up here, and they're just, you know, covering all the bases, I suppose. But if I cut down below that, that's going to get me pretty consistent down a couple inches below that line there. So the only difficulty comes in of being consistent both times, right? Well, we can do that. And I've already measured around a little, and this thing, this is, like I said earlier, this CJ Pony Parts is where this was bought. This is a Key Parts Incorporated panel, still made in Taiwan, but it is, I'm pretty impressed with it. It's one of the better made panels that I've seen in recent years, let's say. But I'm just going to take the guesswork out of it. I've got whatever this is, 2-inch wide masking tape, and I'm going to put this right at the point that this back pocket piece joins. And then I'm going to go try to get to that point. Okay, I have my tape on, but how am I going to transfer this exact line to the patch panel? Well, this is only going to be a reference, so we need something to reference on. Now, maybe your entire bottom that you're replacing is completely rusted out and gone, just like since I've cut this out, I have no reference line on the bottom end, so I'm going to use this panel line. Now, I'm not going to cut any of this out. This means nothing. Well, I mean, it means something, but so I'm going to use this mold line as my measurement point down to the bottom of the tape, because this is my line I'm going to cut. So I'm going to take a file and I'm looking at the angle of the file from the apex to each side. Let me see if I can get you better vantage point there. Chalk or soapstone or whatever really doesn't seem to work well on this. Maybe if you have one of those pencils that draws on steel, or I don't know, something, one of those tire markers, you can try that, but shoot, for this a file works just as well, and we're only just scuffing up the paint here. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm just creating a line. Now I'm going to do the same thing on our patch panel. I've got my upholsterer's tape or seamstress tape, whatever you want to call me at the moment. And I'm just going to measure a few points of reference here. Down here at this bottom corner is a pretty good line. I think I'm going to go that intersects down to there, 6 7/8. 6 7/8. Okay. Now you can really put as many of these as you want. I would encourage you to put at least 3 on there. But let's just say we want a reference point here, here, maybe even one in between, one at the very front, maybe one here. So that is from my line, that is 1/4 inch. And from the wheel opening, that is 3 1/4. So let's put that there in 1/4 inch. So from the edge of this, got 6 5/8, and we got 1/2 inch. Got 10 exactly, and we got 5/8. We got 12 1/8. And we got 1/2 inch. And the very front looks like about 1/4. Okay, 3 1/4. And 1/4. Six 5/8. 10 5/8. can put another row of tape on here. Now I think you'd agree that on the front side I have two matching pieces of tape, as close as we can get it. So what do we do on the back side? You know, you could absolutely follow that line, and I could. I really don't think it matters too much. Let's just make sure here. I got this break in the metal there, and I'm about 5/16, quarter inch to 5/16 to my tape. Exact same there. So yeah, I mean, I could follow that. Why not? So we'll just mark. And I can certainly use the tape for my mark, or you can trace it. I think I need a new Sharpie. Then on the back side, or on the rear side, I'm just going to lop off parallel with this rear bracing there on both of them, so that'll match. So I think we can get to cutting. So on our fender, I made the line disappear with my grinder. So if I can hold back from the tape a consistent 1/16 of an inch, so much the better. I could make a line with something, paint marker or something, and cut on the bottom side of the line. And I can match it, and I can try to sand it down a little bit, grind it down, just to give us a little bit of gap when we go back together for the weld. But we probably don't need to get terribly accurate on a 71 Chevy pickup, but we want to be as close as we can. Now we were oh so careful in measuring the new piece versus the original beforehand. We were very careful in laying out our line and measuring it and doing the same thing on both. And of course, when we put what we cut off on, we've got obviously a perfect fit. But when we go to our new panel, we have a few discrepancies here. And, you know, unless you take time jigging this up on a laser or a water jet table and slicing it perfectly on both, you're still going to have to figure out laying it out perfectly on both. This is going to happen. And even something like this that was welded all the way around, or connected all the way around, you may very well have movement. Now, I don't think this moved any, but from what I see, when I line this up, I'm touching on the back side here on this point, which that's easy to fix. Right now I'm just overlapping that back there. But what I see on the outside of this panel is right in here. I need to whittle this down to get that to fit. I think I'm just going to take a file about this section right here. I could file either piece, it doesn't matter, but that coupled with what's going on the back side, and I think we'll get it perfect. So that little bit, this was up like, I don't know, 3/16 of an inch on this corner before. That little bit of filing and I'm already down all the way around on the front side of this thing. So I just need to mark here and trim that up, and I think we're going to be good to go. Alright, I've spent some time getting it filed down, smoothed down, you know, and as much time as you spend on it, that's how good it's going to be. And I'm getting really close to where I'm going to start putting a couple tacks on it and see if we can play around with it. Now, when I compared this to this with the tape, there was a little slight discrepancy, varying, you know, maybe a 1/16 of an inch to an 1/8 of an inch or whatever. And we can see that played out here. You know, I have, if this was an 1/8 inch to the right, I'd be happier, but I've also got more of a curve on the new panel versus the old. So I'll throw a tack back here, and I'll probably come here about to the apex of this curve, throw one in, and see if we can finagle this over to the right and meet that. We just have to play around with it. And these cheap clamps, I've just got them in there just to kind of hold everything together. I'm not relying on those, so I will actually be moving this around a little bit yet as I'm tack welding. But you know, we're gonna play around with it, and it'll be good in the end. But we just gotta take our time. I don't know, I think I keep saying that. Oh yeah, it's autumn. Well, you can see, unfortunately, I could not get it perfect on the corner, and I don't like that because you look from this direction, you got a little jog in your line there. So Unfortunately, what I'm going to have to do is split this open. I don't think I need to go far to make it look right. But I'm going to have to split it open right at the break and then bend each out to match what's going on with the original panel, and then I'll weld that back shut. But that's really all I can do, you know, and had I started here welding and gotten that perfect, then I would have been off all along my visible side of the panel, which I certainly don't want to do. This is my first priority. Jeez. Alright, I think that's going to work. That gives me a consistent line going up and going sideways. Probably, you know, now I'm a little better than 1/8 of an inch clear at the bottom, the gap, and so get a little piece of wire rod in there, welding rod, when I MIG weld it, help fill that in, and that'll be no problem. That'll put plenty of material back in that gap. And everything else looks good, so I'm gonna lay this, well, I might weld that up first and then I'll lay it down and start welding everything else. Alright, I've got her ground down really well, hitting it with a file, making sure that my weld isn't the high spot. You know, you want that actually to be the low spot for when we add filler. And everything's looking pretty good. I've got my spot weld flanges matching nice. I've got the edges ground down so they look correct on the wheel well portion and here. Yeah. I don't know what else to say. Everything looks like it ought to. That ought to finish out real nice. Just a skim coat of filler and away we go. So that's it. So there you go. I know this may not be the most technical video in the world, and it's just to give you general guidelines or ideas if you are having trouble deciding on how to go about replacing panels on your own project. I do not claim to be an expert, whatever that is. And in fact, the experts these days don't even want to do this kind of work anymore. So it's up to you and me to do it, right? And you can do it. Just take your time, go slow. There's no reason to be in a hurry. And if you mess something up, it's only metal. You can fix, patch, repair, get a new one, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's life, right? You can do it. If you want to see a little bit more in depth of the welding and the grinding and so forth, and you haven't seen other videos from this build, if this is the first time you're joining me here, you can go to the 71 Chevy playlist and see me weld in cab corners, rocker panels, cab braces, whatever. The last time we were together, we did on the other fender, like I said in the beginning, patch panel here with the oxyacetylene torch. We welded it in. I'm hoping this is the last of the welding. From here on out, it'll be paint removal, body filler, and then paint. So stick around, subscribe if you want to come back or be notified when another video is up for that. Otherwise, I just want to thank you for coming around and joining me. God bless you guys. We'll see you on the next one.